coming into week 4 of the NFL season. I'm not sure why, but picks are even harder to make than they were at the beginning of the season. I feel like as we learn more, we know less, but that does not mean we're not going to make our week 4 picks, and hopefully we'll have as good a week as we did in week 3. But before we get into the video, I wanted to take a second to ask you to please subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications. Really helps us out. If you're a fan of the NFL, you'll love this channel as we release multiple NFL-related videos every Thursday and Saturday all year long. Now, let's get back to the video. So, a quick recap of our picks from last week. We went 11-5 on our picks, and 11-5 might not seem like that great a record because you're typically picking favorites. You would expect to win more often than you lose, which is why I always compare how I do compared to how Vegas does. And Vegas only went 8-8 last week. We called 3 upsets in week 3. That being the Eagles beating the Saints, the Vikings beating the Texans, and the Packers beating the Titans. Those are our 3 upset. We got every one of those picks correct, which helped us pull back a little bit against Vegas, where now we're only 1 game behind them on the season, and I just want to beat Vegas. I just want to beat them. Now, entering into our week 4 picks, we've already picked our Thursday night matchup. When I'm filming this, I still don't know who won between the Cowboys and Giants, but you watching it do, so hopefully I was right with the Cowboys, but I could definitely see a world where the Giants won that game. After that, though, we have the Bengals visiting the Panthers, and I have talked to a lot of people, and this is a game that a lot of people are out here picking the Panthers in. Why? Because the Panthers won last week with Andy Dalton. Their offense actually looked pretty good. And the Bengals are 0-3, losing at home to the Commanders and the Patriots. And while, yeah, maybe the Commanders are good, though we still really only have 1 week to tell us that, it's clear to us all that the Patriots are not that good. And so the fact that the Bengals are 0-3 and it's still September, the Bengals always seem to lose these games. And so I'm picking the Bengals. Now, I'm not going to go pick the Panthers as much as I might like to, as much as there's that little piece of my gut that's telling me, pick the Panthers. They're at home. Andy Dalton, revenge game. He can destroy the Bengals season. There's so much going for a Panthers pick here, but the Bengals are just too talented. They're going to figure it out in this game of cat-on-cat violence. And I think that Joe Burrow, we saw a little bit more from him in week 3. I think their defense will figure it out. I think their offense will still be good in week 3. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase both seem to be back. And the Bengals get their first win of 2024. Next up, we have the Broncos visiting the Jets, and the Broncos got a pretty big upset win this past week, beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road. A game that definitely made me think twice about picking against the Broncos as my lock of the week, but I'm not going to lie, I'm doing it again. I think the Jets are going to win this game, and they are my lock of the week. Again, they're at home in this game. The Broncos, yes, they got a big win this past week, but they're not a team that I expect to get a ton of big wins. And we often see when a team does get a big win, they tend to not come out as strong the next week. Look no further than the Las Vegas Raiders, who somehow managed to beat the Ravens and then lose to the Panthers. This is what happens sometimes. I remember talking about it on these videos. I said they might be able to beat that Ravens team. Yeah, I didn't pick them, but I said this is a trap game. They could win this. And I didn't put my lock of the week as the Raiders against the Panthers last week exclusively because I felt that the Raiders had a trap game. And that's the same thing that's going on with the Broncos. When bad teams win tough games, they typically don't do well the next week. And so I'm putting the Jets in as my lock of the week. After that, we got one of the deepest rivalry games in the NFL, the New Orleans Saints visiting the Atlanta Falcons. I'm not sure if there are 2 teams that hate each other more than these 2 teams. Yes, you might come out here and say, oh, the 49ers, Packers, and Cowboys all hate each other. Oh, the Jets and the Bills hate the Patriots, etc., etc., etc. No, those are rivalries of circumstance where all the teams were competitive at a similar period of time and built a rivalry through that competitiveness. There's basically never been an era where the Saints and the Falcons are both competitive for extended periods of time, sans maybe the Matt Ryan, Drew Brees era. But even still, these teams despise each other because for a period of time, they were the only teams in the south of the NFL. And so because they were the only southern NFL teams at a time, they just hated each other because they sucked anyway, so there was nothing else to do but hate each other. Either way, that's an aside story of random NFL history, but who do I have in this game? The New Orleans Saints came back down to earth in week 3, going against a fairly weak Eagles defense and barely being able to put up any points after they shone out in the first 2 weeks. This is more or less what I expected from the Saints. It's the reason why I never put them into my top 10 of my power rankings, even though most other people did. I needed to see one more week, and we didn't get it in week 3, and I'm not sure we're going to get it in week 4. And so given this game is in Atlanta, that's who I'm picking to win this game. I think the New Orleans Saints are a better team than I came into the year thinking, but I still don't think they're good enough to beat the Falcons in Atlanta in that hostile environment. Next up, we have one of our marquee matchups for week 4. We have a few really fun matchups in week 4. And this is absolutely one of them. The Minnesota Vikings go on the road to visit the Green Bay Packers. Now, you would not have thought this would have been a great matchup coming into the season, but the Vikings have been amazing. And even if Jordan Love isn't ready and the Packers have to start Malik Willis, they are still a threat, as they've shown by the fact that they've won both games where Malik Willis is their starting quarterback. In fact, he is 2-0 for the Packers when Jordan Love is 0-1 for the Packers this year. Now, I know circumstances. It's not like Jordan Love didn't play well in the game he lost. I'm not knocking Jordan Love at all. It's just funny to think about. The Packers are favored in this game, and I understand why. Jordan Love might be coming back. It's looking a little bit more likely than not that he will come back, but it's not certain, at least at the time I am filming this video. And the Green Bay Packers are also at home. It's going to be in Lambeau Field. And so I get why they're favored, but I'm picking the Vikings in this game. I rode the Vikings last week against the Texans, and it worked out for me. Even if Jordan Love comes back, I'm not 100% convinced he will be fully healthy. And the Vikings defense and offense both look to be firing on all cylinders. Yes, this could be the game where it all turns around and they fall apart, but there's enough that could go wrong for the Packers and more likely to go wrong, including quarterback play, unhealthy quarterback, who knows who's even starting there. They might not even know until the week kicks off, so they might not have as much time with either quarterback practicing during the week. And so I'm going to take the Vikings to win this one on the road and somehow be 4-0, which I don't think anyone had going into the season. Next up, we have the Jaguars visiting the Houston Texans in an AFC South showdown. And coming into this season, this probably would have seemed like a fairly competitive game. Both teams were expected to be competing for the playoffs and for the division title in the AFC South. But 3 weeks into the season, the Texans are 2-1. I'll acknowledge not the sexiest looking 2-1, but 2-1. However, the Jaguars are 0-3 and an ugly 0-3. So this is a clear take the home team with the better record. That's the better team over the team that looks to be spiraling and in shambles. This is a no-doubter. After that, we have the Steelers going on the road to the Indianapolis Colts. And coming into the season, I would have 100% taken the Colts in this game. But Anthony Richardson has not looked great. The only team he's been able to put up points and yards on was the Houston Texans, who, let's be honest, allowed a lot to the Minnesota Vikings and Sam Darnold too. And I'm not knocking Darnold. He's been great. But come on, that just shows that the Texans defense is not that good. On the flip side, the Steelers have one of the best defenses in the NFL. I think they've allowed 26 points through 3 weeks. That's less than 10 points per game allowed by the Pittsburgh Steelers. It is going to be incredibly tough for this Indianapolis Colts team to put any points on the board. And while, yeah, I don't think Justin Fields has been that great, I don't think the Steelers are going to put up a ton of points in this game. I think it's going to be super low scoring, and the Steelers still come out with the win, though. And it might be like 16-9 or 14-7. I'm not expecting a high-scoring game, but I'm expecting a Steelers win. Next up, we got the Rams visiting the Bears, a matchup that coming into the season might have looked a little bit intriguing, but at this point of the season is one that you can kind of skip over. The Rams, while they did get a pretty big upset win over the 49ers this past week, they're still 1-2. They're still missing a vast majority of their roster, and they're not coming back anytime soon. On the flip side, the Chicago Bears are 1-2 as well, and their offense looks atrocious. It doesn't matter that they have DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, first overall pick Caleb Williams, DeAndre Swift, Cole Kmet, etc., etc., etc. Half those guys suck, and half of those guys haven't shown up, and the Bears just look atrocious offensively. Yeah, Caleb Williams had a decent fantasy week this past week, at least in terms of 6-point passing TD leagues, but that was a lot of it in garbage time and against a Colts team that doesn't have the greatest defense in the world. Well, yeah, the Rams don't have a great defense either. This just isn't a matchup I'm that interested in, but I'm picking the Rams. I just think Matt Stafford is far and away the best player in this game. And while the Bears do have a very solid defense, and I don't want to take that away from them because they do, I'm literally starting them in every one of my fantasy leagues, but Matt Stafford is still more than good enough of a quarterback to get enough points on the board to win this game. Might throw a couple picks doing it. There might be a fumble in there, but they'll score the points. They'll win because the Bears offense just won't do anything. Next up, we have a rematch of the Super Wildcard round from 2023. The Philadelphia Eagles visiting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What happened during the Super Wildcard round? Well, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers absolutely destroyed the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Buccaneers pretty much have brought back their entire team, minus their offensive coordinator who left for a head coaching job. On the flip side, the Eagles have completely overhauled their secondary to try to make it better. That being said, I don't think A.J. Brown's going to be back. Devontae Smith might not be back after his concussion. Jalen Hurts doesn't have that many guys to throw it to, and it's really going to come down to, can Saquon Barkley do it all on offense for the Eagles? And apparently Vegas thinks so, because Vegas has the Eagles favored in this game, but I don't. I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning this one. I think the Buccaneers have a lot more they can do, both in terms of the passing and running game, although I'll acknowledge Bucky Irving might be out too. He missed practice just the other day. And Rachaad White isn't the most efficient runner. I still think they can do enough against the Eagles, and they can definitely pass against the Eagles. And so Buccaneers pulling off the upset at home in Tampa Bay. Next up, we have Vegas's lock of the week, that being the San Francisco 49ers at home versus the Patriots. I'm not even going to try to tease who Vegas picked, because we all know they picked the 49ers, and so did I. I mean, yeah, could the Patriots win this game? Sure, but it's unlikely. I know the 49ers are missing a lot of guys, but they still have such a talented roster that at home they should be able to overcome the New England Patriots. Yeah, the Patriots could somehow pull off what they did against the Bengals in week 1. But guess what? That's the Bengals, and look at what the Bengals have done since then. They've bungled everything. They are the Cincinnati Bungles. The 49ers, yeah, they're 1-2, but I still think they're a really good team and they win this game. Next up, we have what I think actually should be a pretty exciting game. The Washington Commanders visiting the Arizona Cardinals. Now, many people might disagree with me that this is an exciting game, but both these teams, I believe, are on the come up. You have exciting rookies on both sides of the game in terms of Jaden Daniels and Marvin Harrison Jr. I think both these teams could put up near 500 seasons, and depending on how the NFC shakes out, could even compete for the playoff spot. I think that's much more likely in the case of Arizona, but it doesn't mean I don't think the Commanders could do something this year, and if they get a couple of lucky wins, yeah, they could pull something off. In terms of who I have in this game, though, as I said, I think the Cardinals have a better chance at competing for a playoff spot, and they're at home, so I'm going to take them in this game, but I expect it to be a high-scoring game. If you're playing fantasy, I mean, just plug and play, guys. Put in Trey McBride if he's healthy. Put in Marvin Harrison Jr. Put in Kyler Murray. Put in James Conner. Put in Jaden Daniels. Put in Terry McLaurin. Put in Brian Robinson. Just put these guys in, because I expect both sides of the football to be scoring points. And after that game of upstarts, we have a game of that's about as good as I can put a game where the Cleveland Browns are visiting the Las Vegas Raiders. Remember less than a month ago when we thought the Cleveland Browns might be Super Bowl contenders if Deshaun Watson was a good quarterback? Well, I mean, that might still be the case, but we learned that Deshaun Watson is not a good quarterback. I mean, somehow this guy was what we thought was at the lowest of low for him, and he's regressed from there. I don't know how this man continues to regress. I mean, I'm not mad. Look, not mad. But I don't know how he keeps getting worse. It's insane. And they're going on the road and facing the Las Vegas Raiders and Gardner Minshew. I mean, yeah, this team did pull off an upset against the Baltimore Ravens, but like, that's just something that sometimes happens in the NFL. Crazy upsets have been known to happen. And I mean, let's be real. And Vegas has been 0-3 on their locks of the week, so maybe something's going on here. But I still think the Raiders are going to win this game. They're at home. The Browns look awful. Their offensive line looks atrocious, and that is the biggest benefit of the Raiders, is their defensive line. And so if they can get to Deshaun Watson like they have been, and so if they can get to Deshaun Watson like pretty much every team going against the Browns has been able to do, he's not going to be able to do anything, and the Raiders are going to walk away with this one. After this, we have the Kansas City Chiefs visiting the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Los Angeles Chargers are a nice story this season. They're 2-1. They look like a decent team. They're probably pretty clearly the second best team in the AFC West. And with a lot of AFC teams shitting the bed, like the Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, Cleveland Browns, Jacksonville Jaguars, Indianapolis Colts, etc., there is a world where the Chargers could sneak into the playoffs if they can win some tough games. And this is one of those tough games. Having an opponent like the Kansas City Chiefs coming to town is going to be one of the hardest games the Chargers have all season, especially given they get to play the bottom teams from last year in every AFC division, because that's where they finished in the AFC West in 2023. And it'd be a nice story to say the Chargers take this game. I mean, it's not unheard of. This is a divisional rivalry. These two teams do not like each other, and it is in Los Angeles, as much as that means. I mean, let's be clear, it's probably still a Kansas City Chiefs home game because Chargers have no fans, but say Livy, say Livy. And so while there would be a world where the Chargers could pull this game off, and I think it's going to be a little bit closer than a lot of us expect, I'm still picking the Chiefs to win this game. They are just much more talented than the Chargers. Their defense is still really good and should be able to shut down pretty much anything the Chargers can get going. And as well, we don't even know if Justin Herbert's going to be healthy and playing in this game. And if he's not playing in this game, there's just nothing the Chargers can do. I mean, they did not win a game last year once Justin Herbert got injured, and I don't expect them to be able to win a game this year if Justin Herbert is injured either. Following that, we move to our Sunday Night Football showdown, and damn, this looks like a good game. I mean, let's knock on wood a little bit here because we never totally know when a game's going to be good, but this is about as good looking a game on paper as you're going to get. The Bills and Ravens are definitely Super Bowl contenders, and while yes, the Bills are 3-0 and the Ravens are 1-2, the Ravens gotta come into this game hungry, much like they did against the Cowboys last week, because the Ravens know they need to win football games if they're going to catch up and win this division, especially when the Steelers are 3-0 and favored this week and could very easily go 4-0. If the Ravens walk out of this week 1-3 compared to the 4-0 Steelers, yeah, you have 2 games against the Steelers coming up, but you know the Steelers could pull one against you because they always pull one against the Ravens, and you somehow got to win 3 more games than them throughout the rest of the season. That is not an easy task for anyone to do, and so both teams I expect to look really good on Sunday Night Football. Vegas is giving the Ravens the edge in this game, and I understand why. It's at home. They're gonna be hungry. They're a really good, really talented team, but I'm picking the Bills. Man, there's no team in the NFL that has looked better than the Buffalo Bills. Yes, they're going to be coming off a semi-shortened week because they played on Monday Night Football last week. But ho-hum, 1 day of difference. Yeah, they might be going on the road. I don't care. This team has been too good this season that I just don't think I can pick against them until they lose. This would be the game to do it, but I'm still picking them. Next up, we have our first of 2 Monday Night Football matchups. And if you watched the video last week, you heard my entire rant about how much I hate Monday night doubleheaders, but I don't hate this one as much. And here's why. This is one of the worst primetime games I've seen in a long time. Now, yes, I know you didn't know that Tua was going to be injured. A lot of people thought that the Dolphins would actually be quite good this year, competing and maybe even winning the AFC East. A lot of people had them favored, especially with some of the offseason moves the Bills did. But with no Tua and how this team has looked without him, they do not look very good. Yet they're still favored in this game because the Will Levis-led Tennessee Titans look like an absolute train wreck. Yeah, they play some good football here and there, but my God, does Will Levis make some mind-numbing decisions with the football that he just can't continue to make if he's going to be a starter in the NFL. He has all the talent in the world everywhere except for right here, but that's where it really matters for a quarterback. And so the reason I love the double Monday Nighter is because I do not want to watch this game, but I'm still going to pick. And so who do I have? I have the Dolphins, and it feels crazy to pick the Dolphins sans Tua to win, but it's going to be in Miami and it's against the Titans, and that's the reason. And our second Monday night game and final game of week 4, we have the Seattle Seahawks visiting my Detroit Lions. And as a Lions fan, this game is slightly traumatizing. And what I mean by that is the Seattle Seahawks just seem to have the Lions number. They beat the Lions in the playoffs about a decade ago when the Lions actually made it to the playoffs in the Calvin Johnson, Matt Stafford era. They beat the Lions in overtime in 2023 and beat the Lions in 2022 in a close game, which was the tiebreak for why the Seahawks made the playoffs over the Lions, and the Seahawks won the game against the Rams in Week 18 of 2022 in order to make it so the Lions beating the Packers in that week didn't even matter because the Seahawks were going to take the tiebreak with the Lions. It is infuriating being a Lions fan and knowing that the Seahawks just gut punch us after gut punch us after gut punch us. And so I can understand if you are a fan and you want to take a spicy pick'em, pick the Seahawks against the Lions, because my God, has this team had the Lions number for the past decade. But the Seahawks don't have Pete Carroll anymore. And with this game being in Detroit, I think just being far and away the more talented team, I'm picking them to win. Yeah, the Seahawks might be 3-0. I get that. But their 3 wins were against the Buccaneers, the Patriots, and a Tua-less Dolphins. That is not a recipe for a great 3-0 team. And it's a big reason why I still don't have them very high on my power rankings in spite of their record. And so, well, yeah, they have a better record than the Lions. The Lions are 2-1 and have beat the Rams and Cardinals, 2 teams that I both have rated over everybody the Seahawks beat and the Seahawks. And their only loss is to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team who is 2-1 and pretty good as well. So yeah, I'm taking the Lions in this game, but I would not be surprised if the Seahawks continue to just gut punch the Lions. And so here is a recap of my picks for week 4. Here's hoping, again, I can have a really good, really strong week. I have a number of upsets again this week, just trying to eke ahead of Vegas. Here is Vegas's pick. They have some interesting ones. They are taking the Packers over the Vikings, the Bears over the Rams, the Eagles over the Buccaneers, and the Ravens over the Bills. I don't hate any of those picks, obviously. They're the favorites for a reason. Vegas only picks favorites, but I still like my picks. I think we can pull off 3 of those as W's and get ahead of Vegas moving into week 5. Here's hoping. But that's it for this week's video. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and comment down below. Help us out. Help us grow. I hope you enjoy week 4 of the NFL season, and I will see you all on Thursday for our week 5 power rankings. Peace!